My name is Sarah, a dedicated mother of two wonderful kids. Michael, my husband, is a hardworking man who spends most of his days at his job. We have a lovely 3-year-old daughter named Lily, and our youngest, Mia, is just a year old. Life is generally good for our ordinary family, but there's one thing that constantly nags at me. My mother-in-law, Linda. It feels like Linda comes over at the most inconvenient times, especially during dinner preparation. Without much warning, she walks into our home, just as she often does. It's not a fixed schedule, but she shows up around this time frequently enough that Lily hardly even looks away from her favorite cartoon. "Sarah, is this fried food again?" Linda's disapproval is evident. "That's not good. It's so oily. You need to take better care of Michael's stomach when he comes home tired from work. It's not good for the grandkids either." "But Lily really likes it," I reply hesitantly. "Well, that's because you only feed her junk. Look, I've made a creamy vegetable stew and minestrone for you. It's essential for the kids to get used to Western food from an early age." Linda starts setting the table with the large containers of creamy stew and minestrone she brought. It's a lot, enough to last for at least 3 days, and I feel a little down just looking at the stew, which is mostly just carrots and cabbage. "Come on, stop daydreaming. I'll take the food you made home with me, so go ahead and pack it up. It's not tasty, but we can't waste food." This is routine. Last time she visited unexpectedly, she replaced my clam chowder with her own fried chicken. Holding the still warm container, she left without even looking at her grandchildren. Once the front door closed, Lily turned to me softly. "Grandma took my fried chicken again." My heart aches seeing my daughter's sad face. "Don't worry, there's a little bit of meat left. Just wait a moment." Yay! As I heat up the oil again, I feel relieved seeing Lily's joyful reaction to my words. However, my inner dissatisfaction remains. Linda has been overly intrusive since my marriage, but it's gotten worse over the last year. Every week, she shows up unannounced during dinner prep time. Initially, she would just criticize my cooking and parenting, then leave her creams due on the counter. But for the past 6 months, she started taking my food home with her, effectively ruining our meal. I can't imagine Linda, who lives alone since my father-in-law passed away, eating all 3 servings. She's probably throwing it away. As I prepare baby food and distract the kids, I manage to cook. It's tough, but seeing my family's happy faces keeps me going. Yet my fried chicken, braised pork, mapo tofu, and hamburgers, all of it gets taken away. I grew up in a family that ran a restaurant, and my dad taught me how to cook. So I'm confident in my culinary skills. And yes, I think my food tastes better than Linda's overly sweet creams do. It irks me to have my skills negated by her. But with Lily and Mia in the picture, I've been struggling to stand up to Linda, their grandma. More cream stew? Michael, who comes home after the kids have gone to sleep, makes a face when he sees dinner. Since only Lily's share of fried chicken was left, I served Michael a large platter of the cream stew. What can I do? It's what Linda brings over. If you don't like it, you tell her. "Yeah, I guess." Michael pokes at the stew, as non-committal as ever. She shows up without considering Mia's nap time, and even takes away Lily's favorite foods right in front of her. Well, she's lonely since Dad died. That was 2 years ago. How much longer do I have to put up with this? "Yeah, I guess." Michael is usually reliable, but he avoids confrontation when Linda is involved. Another pointless conversation goes by, and I let out a deep sigh. The only silver lining is that she hasn't suggested moving in. One day, tired of the same old routine, Linda says something different when she drops by during dinner as usual. "Sarah, this Christmas, everyone's gathering at our place." "What?" I exclaim in surprise. After Michael's father passed away last year, we couldn't really do anything, right? We've been relying on relatives from his side since the funeral, so I'm inviting them to our home as a way of saying thank you. I try to hide my reluctance, but it's challenging. Linda has always been in the habit of hosting family gatherings at her brother-in-law's or her own childhood home for Christmas and family reunions. Hosting it at her place is a significant change. "Sounds exhausting," I respond with a lack of enthusiasm to Linda's arrogant tone, wondering how she plans to host people suddenly when we've always gathered elsewhere for such occasions. She frowns at me, looking like she's dealing with someone of lesser intelligence. "You're not just a bystander here. You'll be helping too. What? Come over on the 24th and help clean up. Your sisters-in-law will be there as well, and we'll need all the hands we can get. Stunned by Linda's audacious decision, I try to quickly object. But Mia is so young. Just use a baby carrier or something. That's how women used to do it back in the day. Maybe, but you're also in charge of the full-course Christmas meal. Don't you dare repackage store-bought food or cook anything that tastes bad. I don't want to be embarrassed. What? You can't be serious. I'm thinking of inviting Michael's dad's relatives on one day and my sister's family and our daughter on another. It'll be a busy holiday. Although she's complaining, I can sense a happy aura coming from her. Hold on. The one who's going to be busy is me, not you. As the daughter-in-law of this family's eldest son, do your duty properly, okay? Having had her say, my satisfied Linda leaves the meal untouched and heads out, leaving me stunned and my surprised son behind. She doesn't forget to pack the shrimp gratin that just needs to be baked, though. That night, when I tell Michael about it, he's as bewildered as I am. What? She's planning a party from Christmas, even inviting Dad's side of the family when he's not here? Yes, that's the plan. Well, maybe Mom's lonely. I finally lose my temper at Michael's predictable response. Think about what it's like for me, always being pushed around. Seeing Michael's face turn to an unmistakable, uh-oh, he goes silent. But even he realizes that this time it's too much and lets out a resigned sigh. All right, I'll handle the cleaning and entertaining the relatives. Really? I'm glad to hear Michael's proposal. It gives me some direction. But can you still cook the full-course Christmas meal? Just for this year, let's keep Mom's reputation intact. Plus, everyone in the family loves your cooking. As he pleads, Michael is staring at the meatloaf Linda left for us. I mean, it's hard to say no after making a concession. Fine, just for this year. Thanks, man. I can't wait for Sarah's Christmas feast. Geez, you're in high spirits, aren't you? Being praised isn't so bad, and I don't mind cooking for people, so I brace myself that it's just for this time and agree to prepare a full-course Christmas meal. When I tell Linda that Michael will stay over to help with cleaning, she makes a displeased face and says, "How could you let the man of the house do such things?" But he insisted, and I don't mind. She seemed reasonably satisfied seeing Michael bustling around at her parents' home for my sake. As the days passed, I found myself caught in the whirlwind of preparations for Linda's grand Christmas gathering. The pressure was building, and I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. Linda's constant suggestions and instructions about the menu were driving me crazy. Sarah, don't forget the creamed spinach, and make sure to prepare a fancy salad. Oh, and we can't have Christmas without a traditional roast, can we? I nodded, feeling like I was slowly losing control over the holiday meal I had reluctantly agreed to prepare. It was supposed to be a collaborative effort with Linda, but it felt more like she was taking over everything. Michael tried to mediate between us, but it was challenging. He wanted to keep the peace and make everyone happy, but I could see the tension building in him as well. Our relationship was strained, and it seemed like Linda's presence was taking a toll on our marriage. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day of shopping for ingredients and decorations, Michael and I sat down to talk. Sarah, I know this is tough, but please try to understand Mom's perspective. She's been through a lot since Dad passed away, and she's trying to hold on to some sense of normalcy. I sighed, feeling torn between my frustration and sympathy for Linda. I get that, Michael, but it feels like she's taking over everything. I agreed to cook the Christmas meal, but now it seems like she's planning the entire event without me. Michael looked conflicted, torn between supporting me and not wanting to upset his mother. I'll talk to her again, try to find a middle ground. But please, just for this Christmas, can you go along with her plans? It would mean a lot to her. I reluctantly agreed, hoping that this compromise would ease the tension in our family. As the days passed, I continued to prepare dishes for the feast, trying to balance Linda's demands with my own culinary preferences. It was a challenging task, but I was determined to make this Christmas special for everyone. However, the closer the holiday approached, the more I felt the weight of the expectations and the mounting pressure. I couldn't help but wonder if I had made a mistake by agreeing to this in the first place. As Christmas Eve drew nearer, the stress of preparing for Linda's grand gathering began to take its toll on me. The pressure to meet her expectations weighed heavily on my shoulders. I spent countless hours in the kitchen, meticulously preparing each dish from scratch. The creamy spinach, fancy salad, traditional roast, and all the other items on Linda's extensive menu were lovingly cooked and garnished. Michael had tried his best to help, but he was also caught in the crossfire between his mother's demands and my desire for a peaceful holiday. The tension in our home was palpable. Even Lily and Mia seemed to sense the unease, their usual cheerful spirits somewhat dampened by the atmosphere. I knew I had to keep it together for their sake, but it was becoming increasingly challenging. On Christmas Eve morning, Linda arrived early, ready to supervise every detail of the preparations. She watched my every move as I put the finishing touches on the dishes. Her critical eye never left me, and I felt like I was being judged at every turn. As the hours passed, the house filled with the mouth-watering aroma of the Christmas feast. The table was set with care, adorned with festive decorations and flickering candles. Guests began to arrive, and the house buzzed with the excitement of the holiday. Despite my exhaustion and the mounting stress, I couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment as I looked at the beautifully presented dishes. This was my chance to prove myself, to show Linda that I could handle the responsibility she had entrusted me with. As the meal began, the first few bites were met with polite compliments from the guests. Linda's face lit up with satisfaction as she received praise for her meticulously planned Christmas gathering. I kept a watchful eye on Michael, who was doing his best to mediate between his mother and me. But as the meal progressed, something unexpected happened. Sophia, Linda's sister, began to compliment the dishes one by one, praising their flavors and presentation. She seemed genuinely impressed by the food. Sophia's words caught the attention of the other guests, and soon the entire table was filled with compliments and appreciation for the meal. Linda's smile faltered as she realized that the credit for the delicious food was being showered on me, not her. I watched as Linda's face turned from satisfaction to frustration. She had been so focused on maintaining her reputation as the perfect host that she hadn't noticed the genuine joy and gratitude from the guests. It was a bittersweet moment for me, as I had finally earned the recognition I craved, but it had come at the cost of Linda's disappointment. As the evening continued, the tension in the room grew, and it was clear that Linda was no longer enjoying the gathering. Michael tried to defuse the situation, but the damage had been done. In the end, I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. I had proven myself as a capable cook and had earned the respect of Linda's relatives. It was a small victory, but it meant the world to me. As the guests departed, I couldn't help but wonder what the future held for our family. The holiday had brought both joy and conflict, and it was clear that our relationship with Linda would never be the same. The days following the Christmas gathering were filled with a palpable tension in our household. Linda had been noticeably distant, and our interactions were strained. It was clear that she was still upset about the events of that evening. Michael, caught in the middle of the conflict between his mother and me, tried his best to mediate. He urged Linda to talk to me and address her feelings, but she remained stubbornly silent. One evening, after Linda had left our home, Michael and I sat down to discuss the situation. It had become increasingly clear that the rift between Linda and me needed to be resolved. "Sarah, I think it's time for a conversation with Mom," Michael said, his voice filled with concern. "This tension is tearing our family apart, and it's not healthy for any of us." I nodded in agreement, feeling the weight of the situation on my shoulders. "You're right, Michael. It's been hard on all of us, especially the kids. But I don't know how to approach her. She's been so distant and unwilling to talk." Michael sighed, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "I'll talk to her again and try to convince her to sit down with you. Maybe if I'm there as well, we can have an open and honest conversation." I appreciated Michael's willingness to help, and we made plans to confront Linda together. It was clear that something needed to change for the sake of our family's well-being. A few days later, we gathered in Linda's living room, the atmosphere heavy with tension. Linda looked uncomfortable, but she agreed to the meeting. Michael took the lead, addressing Linda gently but firmly. "Mom, we can't continue like this. The tension between you and Sarah is affecting all of us, especially the kids. We need to find a way to resolve our differences and move forward as a family." Linda remained silent for a moment, her gaze fixed on the floor. Finally she spoke, her voice filled with a mixture of frustration and sadness. "I just wanted everything to be perfect for Christmas. I didn't mean to overshadow Sarah's efforts or make her feel like she wasn't appreciated." I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. "Linda, I understand that you wanted the best for the family, but it became overwhelming for me. I felt like my efforts were being dismissed, and it created a lot of stress. I just wanted to contribute to the holiday in my way." Tears welled up in Linda's eyes as she looked at me. "I didn't realize how much I was hurting you. I'm so sorry, Sarah. I never meant for it to come to this." We continued to talk, addressing our feelings and concerns openly and honestly. It was a difficult conversation, but it was also cathartic. Linda admitted that she had been struggling with her grief and had been trying to hold on to traditions to feel close to her late husband. In the end, we reached an understanding. We agreed to communicate better and find a way to celebrate holidays and family gatherings that honored both our traditions and contributions. It was a step toward healing the rift in our family. As the days passed, Linda and I gradually began to rebuild our relationship. It wasn't easy, but we both recognized the importance of family and the need to support each other. Our family gatherings became more harmonious, and the tension that had once hung in the air began to dissipate. Looking back, I realized that the Christmas gathering had been a turning point for our family. It had forced us to confront our issues and work towards a resolution. While there were still challenges ahead, I knew that with open communication and a commitment to understanding each other, we could overcome anything that came our way. With the tensions of the Christmas gathering finally resolved, our family embarked on a new chapter of our lives. It was a period of healing, growth, and understanding, as we learned to appreciate each other's strengths and differences. Linda and I, once at odds, found a way to coexist peacefully. We learned to compromise and work together to create memorable family gatherings that celebrated both our traditions. It was a slow process, but the effort we put into our relationship was worth it, for the sake of our family. Michael, as the bridge between his mother and me, played a crucial role in maintaining the newfound harmony in our household. He continued to support and mediate, ensuring that both Linda and I felt heard and valued. Our children, Lily and Mia, thrived in the improved atmosphere at home. They were no longer caught in the crossfire of our disagreements and were free to be their joyful, carefree selves. Their laughter and innocence reminded us of the importance of family unity. As the months passed, our family traditions evolved. We began to create new holiday rituals that incorporated elements from both Linda's and my backgrounds. Our gatherings became a blend of flavors, customs, and celebrations that reflected our unique family dynamic. I continued to cook for our family, but now it was a collaborative effort. Linda and I would plan the menu together, each contributing our favorite dishes. It became a bonding experience that allowed us to connect on a deeper level. Our Christmas gatherings were no longer a source of tension, but a time of joy and togetherness. We focused on what truly mattered, the love and support we had for one another. The holiday season was a reminder of the strength of our family bonds. Looking back, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the challenges we had faced. They had forced us to confront our differences and work towards a better understanding of each other. Our family had emerged from the ordeal stronger and more united than ever. As the years went by, our family continued to grow and change. Lily and Mia were joined by a new sibling, a little brother named Max. Our household was filled with the laughter and chaos of raising 3 children, and our family traditions continued to evolve. Through it all, Linda, Michael, and I remained a united front, dedicated to providing our children with a loving and supportive environment. We had learned that family was not about perfection, but about embracing each other's imperfections and finding strength in our differences. And so our family journey continued, filled with love, laughter, and the promise of a brighter future. We had weathered the storms of the past and emerged stronger than ever. ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead.